attention, please. Welcome to the 3rd International Conference on Men's Issues in Gold Coast. I'll be saying a few words, but first we have a short message from Paul Elam.
Hello, everyone. I'm Paul Elam, the founder and publisher of A Voice for Men. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to the 3rd International Conference on Men's Issues. If you're new to ICMI, you should know that this 3rd groundbreaking international conference follows 2 others, one in the United States and the other in the UK. In each of these 2 events, and the one you're about to experience now, we have brought you a gifted and dedicated array of thought leaders on the issues faced by men and boys. Our previous conferences have featured the likes of domestic violence pioneer Erin Pitsey, the woman who started the World Shelter Movement for victims of intimate partner abuse. Also, there's been Warren Farrell, noted author of The Myth of Male Power and many other books on men's issues. We have had Senator Ann Cools, the first black female senator ever in North America, and Philip Davis, MP from the UK, who is working tirelessly to add the issues of men and boys to the public discourse in that country. You will see a similar level of speakers on the stage before you over the next 2 days, all with one purpose in mind: to shed light on problems faced by men and boys and the ongoing struggle to address those problems in the face of well-heeled opposition. In short, the conference, like the 2 before it, serves the purpose of speaking truth to power. It's hard to imagine that there's resistance of any kind to these discussions. But as we look at the history of this conference, that resistance becomes clear. In our first event in Detroit, we were forced to change venues on short notice because of death threats being made against our speakers, attendees, and even against staff and guests at the hotel where we were scheduled to present. The Red Pill movie, which many of you saw last night in this room, has been the target of censorious bans across Australia in recent months, and the attacks against it and the filmmaker continue to this day. Certainly, this kind of intense and often threatening resistance to simply speaking about the issues of men and boys needs explanation. And that is what I would like to offer you today to start things off. Feminism is now a multi-billion-dollar industry with a vested financial interest in a narrative that rigidly paints men as perpetrators and oppressors and women as unquestioned victims. Domestic violence programs like your White Ribbon Campaign profit from a false narrative of woman good, man bad, ignoring the vast and overwhelming body of evidence proving gender symmetry in intimate partner violence. This sad scenario happens over and over again across the globe, distorting how we address domestic violence and a range of other social ills. It has distorted our notions of power and privilege and driven a pointless, destructive wedge between men and women. These conferences shine a light on this very disturbing reality, which is precisely why feminist ideologues are so opposed to them happening. I urge you to keep this in mind as you listen to the fine speakers you're about to hear, to consider their courage in speaking up and the importance of your being here to hear them out. Thank you, and once again, enjoy the conference.
Paul was talking about the first and second conferences there. It's absolutely fabulous that we can have the 3rd conference here in Australia. Having the 3rd conference here means that Aussies and Kiwis who were not able to make the trip to Detroit or London have an opportunity to attend one of our conferences. I'm very happy to see that we have many people from overseas here who have made the trip. As well as Australia, I know we have attendees from New Zealand, the US, Canada, UK, Germany, and India. And I'm sure we actually have attendees from many other countries. They're just the people that I've met personally. Each of these countries has a growing men's rights movement. We have seen a huge upswing of interest in the men's rights movement from the wider community and the media recently. While there are many factors that have contributed to this, this is in no small part a result of the release of the Red Pill. It's fairly clear that many people outside the movement do not understand it well. I'm going to have a go at explaining it in 50 words or less. I describe the men's rights movement as a group of organisations and individuals who mostly agree with each other on the issues facing men and boys. Despite what many outside of the movement think, this is not just a movement for men and is ethnically and culturally diverse. Many women participate in the MRM and often seem to be among the movement's most active contributors. The movement is pluralistic and inclusive. The MRM includes gay men and transgender men and women. Participants in the movement come from across the political spectrum. They are united in their recognition of the problems facing men and boys and agree that these problems need to be addressed. Anyone who broadly agrees with the aims of the movement is welcome to participate. We reject many of the claims espoused by leaders in the modern feminist movement, such as that women cannot be sexist to men, a belief that men have systematically oppressed women for thousands of years through the use of violence, and that domestic violence impacts women far more than men. Being in the men's rights movement can be challenging. Most MRAs have lost friends, some have lost jobs, and I know for a fact that includes people that are at this conference that have lost jobs. We're in the process of establishing the Australian Men's Rights Association, AMRA, which will be the legal arm of Men's Rights Australia. I suggest that the objectives we have set for AMRA may be overreaching aims of the men's rights movement. 1, to engage in reasoned, peaceful advocacy. 2, to eliminate gynocentrism and male disposability. 3, to resolve certain issues facing men and boys. 4, to achieve equality of opportunity for all. And 5, to impose enforcement of traditional gender roles. There are many problems to address. In recent years, we have focused a lot of our efforts on raising awareness of gender neutrality in intimate partner violence. While we have seen success, this is an area we need to continue working on. Many government-funded organisations allegedly trying to help those affected by partner violence completely ignore reciprocal partner violence, in which both partners in an intimate relationship are violent to each other. Ignoring reciprocal partner violence prevents intervention. We must also redouble our efforts on eliminating male genital mutilation, which continues to be legal in every country. We need to push harder to raise awareness of falling educational standards of boys. I firmly believe that many young boys are hearing the constant negative statements about men and masculinity and are disengaging. Some are disengaging because they have internalised this message, others because they know it is false and are pulling away from a society that freely vilifies them on the basis of their gender. If we do not stop this trend, then we will all be the worse off, men and women alike. I'd like to thank all of the volunteers who have made this conference possible. I cannot tell you how hard they have worked. Initial preparations for this conference started just after ICMI17, 12 months ago. I'd like to make special mention of my young daughter, Emily, who helped out by joining many of the lanyards and card holders you have. She had fun and will get some extra pocket money. I quietly issued Emily a staff pass. She's coming along with her mum at lunchtime, so if you see a particularly short staff member, you know it's her. ICMI17 is brought to you by A Voice for Men, Justice for Men and Boys in the UK, Save India Family Foundation, the India Men's Welfare Association, and welcome to the conference.